Murphy hits the final leg of his tour in San Diego with an all-star cast of musicians. Now he's hot off the heels of his Resurrection tour with Bauhaus in 1998.
I really felt that the Bauhaus tour gave me an immense amount of renewal and memory of what it means to really want to do this thing again.
So to draw it from some history on, originally started out as 1919, and then
Bauhaus 1919, yeah.
It was Bauhaus 1919?
Actually, we called it something else, and Danny and I called it something else for about half an hour, didn't we? SR.
Which stood for?
I said, Danny, I think that sounds like a tooth.
Oh, really?
Paste.
I don't know.
No, I was going to call it Lips. I said, Danny, we are so amped up. We just met. We just wrote about 20 songs in about half an hour. I said, that's it. I'm a star. And we were driving his old Cortina to the old thing, and I said, Danny, I've got it. Lips. He went, no, Pete. I said, okay. Then he said, SR. I said, all right then. Anything, just let's get on stage, Really, it was like that. And then David came along. Now, I've been reading, I think this is the perfect aesthetic sounding name. Bauhaus 1919. We said, all right then. What was that then? That was an art movement, a minimal art movement. Minimalist art movement of furniture and design, art as function, wasn't it? Right. So that came about 3 hours after we'd started thinking. After the first show, it's like, who needs 1919? Bauhaus sounds fantastic.
So you take it from SR, which is a toothpaste, right?
Yes.
Which made...
It wasn't from... Was it? Well, that was Danny's fault.
Okay. That's why it sounded like a toothpaste. Thank God we go from the meaningless maybe to the meaningful. So what did Bauhaus mean to you?
Bauhaus...
We all went to art school, dabbled in art, and we were aware of, the art movement, and David came up with the name, and at that time we could see certain similarities in the movement and in the way that we approached music in terms of stripping things down to real basics, being very simplistic and functional. I think that was just us being, late teens, early 20s art students, and kind of really reading into stuff. And as time went on, we kind of just admitted that we just liked the sound of the name.
But not to put that down, there was a definite draw on that. I think there was a great advantage with that like artistic sort of background in art, and it was an art band.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, from the sleeves, we were completely integral. We would design the sleeves, we would mix, we would do everything completely from scratch ourselves, and we would generate everything ourselves as a workshop, which is what Bauhaus means. And the more we looked at to be serious, that looked at the original movement, we could see a lot of parallels between it, and it was the Germanic, very sort of black and white European feeling to it. Which really did ring right. The names contains that energy, I think. Anyway, it's very Germanic. Bauhaus, a workhouse. My main priority then, back in 1984, was to really develop myself as a musician, a solo artist, and that I knew would need some years rather than just a month and wham, have a hit. And that was the antithesis of what Bauhaus was about. I think I used my privilege of being able to have carved out a life where I can create my own stage every night. In terms of I've got control of what I am on stage, and it's a very raw theatre. This, whether you see it as rock or music, it's very much performance art, and therefore very close to acting in a way, but it's becoming a part. It's not acting in a sense. So it's your work, and it's your expression of the work, and it's your role, and it's your plot, and it's your world. So it's kind of very self-enveloped in a sense. I'd love to act in a film, but part of me thinks it would waste a lot of my time because they take months. I'd rather do it on stage. but it would be nice.
And so the stage is your canvas, or?
Well, it is, isn't it? We're up there. We're doing it.
I'm going to draw into now the side projects. You moved into Tones on Tail and then Love and Rockets, while simultaneously Peter moves into Dallas Carr and his solo projects. What was your opinion while that was going on? You were going through your movement with your groups, and Bauhaus splits off. What were your thoughts? What were your feelings about Peter's music at that time and his projects?
Well, I never really paid a lot of attention to what Peter was doing. I'd hear snippets, and I've learned from doing this tour that I didn't really listen. Because if I had listened, I would have really got into the stuff. And as I was forced to listen, as it were, in listening to the songs to rehearse to do the tour, it just uncovered this great wealth of material, and I think now, what else did I probably miss out on because I wasn't listening? So I was really sort of taken aback especially as to how some of the pieces were quite ahead of their time in terms of production and the way they were put together, and I was really, really, really impressed. And there's some beautiful work there.
Peter, your feelings on the Love and Rockets Tones on Tail project? Anything in particular?
Talking about your brother or something, it's too subjective for me. I mean, of course, they were a Bauhaus of my life, and I didn't see it as being like a band that had an end or a beginning. It was complete. It was just an experience for me, and when it ended, it was devastating. And so I have a very possessive, sort of domineering, sort of with my friends and colleagues, especially those in Bauhaus, I felt really close to them, and when it ended, I wasn't able to be objective. So when I was very critical of them, and I thought they were foolish for giving Bauhaus up, and it was only like, it was just, they were generating music, just music, whereas Bauhaus was not that. So I saw it as being very, they became just another band, and that they were selling themselves cheap. That was my emotional reaction. So I didn't listen to it. It was very difficult for me. I'd be really critical of it, and I'd think, God, this, that. I'd be very critical, and was quite angry at them for a long time, actually. But it wasn't personal, was it, really? It was just like this experience of being...
It was the same thing with me.
It's difficult. I was so angry at you all. It's like so foolish at the time. Anyway, that's not true. No, because you were together still, but I had to hack it on my own. It's easy for you. So I learned a lot in those years through working alone, and I've really grown a lot. But along the way, I remember once I was making a tape of some of my work, demos, and it was on an old second-hand tape, and I turned it over, went to listen back, and it was this other music. What's this? I was quite disorientated, and I just listened to it. Wow, this is amazing. What's this? And I just really became. I could not stop listening to it. I thought, what is this? So I think it was one of your songs and that was really something for me. I thought, wow, that shows you how, it's about perception, really, isn't it? When you listen to music, and if you bring, it's an emotional thing, and if you project onto it something, you just won't hear it in a way. So.
Yeah, you shut something off before.
Yeah, so I was impressed with that number, but when I tried to relive it and hear it again, when I listened to their albums, I still can't hear it properly. Well, it's okay. It's well constructed, and there's a lot of talent there, but it never really was brilliant,
So
for me.
Okay, so you had a couple different bands, and I'll just say simultaneously they were doing some darker edge music at that time, and then were able to make the transition to a pop culture of music, like Love and Rockets.
It was a matter of courtesy that I didn't either, because I was asked about it all the time, and I didn't want to talk badly about the other men, because I was really happy as well that they were making headway. So that was good. So it was a matter of courtesy, not even talking about it. Yeah. I mean, it was a divisive thing. People would always say Love and Rockets, you, this, that, and
it's a curiosity of a lot of people, though, I'm sure. You know, what were you feeling and thinking? But at the time, simultaneously, we had Susie and the Banshees and The Cure of a darker edge, and they made the transition to pop as a group. Why wasn't Bauhaus able to do that? Make the transition, because Love and Rockets and Peter Murphy's solo material became more radio friendly, became more easily played by the public.
We did, I think we had a couple of pop hits. She's in Parties.
We had lots.
Was in the charts in England, went to about number 12, I think, and we followed that up with a couple more singles. So there was that side to us.
Many of the Bauhaus faithful felt devastated after the band parted ways in 1983, but felt resurrected when the band came back to life 15 years later.
We were talking quite intensely, and I was personally trying to pull Bauhaus together very intensely for a year, and for many different reasons which we won't go into now, that didn't happen. So I put my own work to the side, purposefully and also psychologically because of that. And then I came around to making my own website, and there was one final meeting with the Bauhaus that really I felt that was the last chance that we had to make that happen in terms of Bauhaus.
Peter Murphy has put together an incredible array of musicians for his tour, but what they all have in common, they pay homage to Bauhaus.
He seemed to have no awareness of what he meant to us. Like all the musicians I know, like myself, worshipped Bauhaus and everything that Bauhaus did, and like had a huge, influence on me and everyone I knew.
It's interesting when I heard Eric speak about Bauhaus as, the music that they really looked up to, and that was a huge influence for him. Smashing Pumpkins, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and Billy Corgan have always been quoted about saying, this music made me what I am now. Was part of that. Have you met up with them, and what was their response to you? Did they talk to you about that? I know Billy met up with you. I don't know about Trent Reznor.
I haven't really had any. I've heard these words. I met up with Bjork at one point, and she told me that Bauhaus are my favorite punk band, and I'm a huge fan of her, and what I like about that is that, I guess we influenced her, and then now she's influencing what I do, so I like the idea of that it kind of goes on in that way,
It also goes on in that way for the new Peter Murphy lineup, as each member also brings their own set of influences into the band.
If we were to look at your CD player at home, what CD are you listening to right now? What music influences you right now from other artists?
Segovia, Andrew Segovia. I know it's really old, but I've been really into learning how to finger pick with these 3 fingers and hold a pick at the same time, so I can do it all at once.
I'm always an enormous fan of Trevor Horn's work, all the different things he's done, and even some of, whether they're the oldest things he's done or the most recent things, there's just such an amazing amount of imagery and dimension in color and in texture and in timbre, and I think a lot of what made me warm up and become so excited in this project was I feel like, particularly on Cascade, which we're doing a lot of on this tour, there was a lot of that in Peter's records.
Kreuter and Dorfmeister, Massive Attack,
Philip Glass trilogy, Massive Attack, Moby Play.
It's funny, I was trying to remember what's in my CD player because it's been a month now, but I really can't. But pretty consistent favorites are PJ Harvey is always somebody I can listen to, but really for the most part, I spend so much of my time making music. So many hours of each day are spent making music that I really don't listen to music as often as one would think. And I think in terms of influences, what I listened to last week doesn't influence me half as much as what I listened to, kind of forming my feeling and direction about making music in general. That, you know, I was more influenced by Bauhaus and by Public Enemy and by, you know, the energy, like the creative energy behind those kinds of bands, more so than anything I listened to a week ago. So
those are the influence records, and they stay with you forever. They stay with you forever, and you, everything is in perspective to them. You know, as you listen, and you always want to hear what people are doing now, but it's always, unfortunately, put up against what's inside already.
Is there a nickname or a group name? This is my last question. A group name that you may have for this group of people? Do you have
I haven't thought of that, have we?
Yes.
Peter Murphy and some other guys.
No, Peter DiStefano and some other guys.
We did this joke before I met Peter Murphy. We had his management, Elizabeth, fax a sheet to Peter in Turkey saying, with the flyer. It was the format, or the, you know, ad mat. And it said, Peter DiStefano Tour 2000 with his picture. Peter DiStefano Tour 2000 with special guests Peter Murphy and some other guys.
That's the name. That's it.